make no mistake about it, Democrats want to support this. This is what we've been working on for 2 years. We like a broader Medicaid expansion plan, but we know that's not going to happen, and we're ready to compromise. But we have to have some assurance that what we're compromising for, it protects people, not just, it's a people-based compromise, not a politics-based compromise. And so we have questions about it. We wonder how much these plans are going to cost. We wonder if the cooperative health plan is going to be included, which is partially public funded. We think it ought to have a benefit of this inclusion in this plan, not just the big Blue Crosses and those type of things. We hope there's enough money to go around. We don't want to get in an Arkansas situation where it costs a heck of a lot more than we first said about it. And when I say this, I believe the majority party wants to know these answers too. Can somebody actually afford the co-pays when they're making $16,000 a year? And I have a lot of people in my district that make that much money, and I know it's tough to do that. So we need to know if this is a practical, workable plan. Hey, what if this plan isn't approved by the feds? I think anybody that votes for this, Republican or Democrat, wants to be sure that we'll be done with it. In other words, we're not going to have to come back if the feds tweak this. What does the resolution say? Is it giving the governor enough authority to carry on with it? Or are we going to be back here in 3 months again in another special session trying to fix this thing? So we want to support it, but I tell you, our internal talking to our members, we've got about 10 members that are ready to vote, and they're pretty soft. So we've got a long way to go. We want to make sure it passes. We want to make sure we got a substantial thing. We may even file some kind of backup bill if these guys can't decide who's going to go first, last, or otherwise, to make sure that we get something going out of this thing, because it's just too important. And I truly think that when members hear from their constituents, hear from the healthcare industry, hear from the experts, that they can vote for this. But I don't blame them. I don't think we're there yet. I mean, if we were voting today, you'd have about 10 members, according to my internal count, that would be for the thing.
And that's just a result of a lack of communication on the part of the administration, as far as you're concerned?
I think it's a combination of all of those things that I mentioned. We've and the governor's staff has interviewed or talked to some of our people, and they're making that effort. But hey, this is a big deal, and it doesn't seem that we've got a process. I mean, we're standing on the sidelines. We're in the minority party, but you got the governor for this plan, you got the Speaker of the House for this plan, you got the Speaker of the Senate for this plan, and here we are just having all this, squabble. We need,
The governor has said that he's counting on that he needs every single Democratic vote in order to pass this thing.
Well, I think he can ultimately get that, but the reasons, there's some things we have to get fleshed out. We have to know from I'm very strongly for doing something, but I'm not so, if it's not going to, if it can't open up the hospitals that are next to the mega site, or at least give them a fighting chance to stay open, if there's not something in there from the hospitals to say, hey, we're not going to close any hospitals for the next year, we're going to take a moratorium and see when we get these extra funds, what are we going to do with them? Are they going to pay bonuses like earlier? I hope not. I hope they keep the hospitals open that serve rural West Tennessee, for instance.
So in other words, the Democratic caucus is not locked up at this point in time in favor of this. Support needs to be won.
No, sir. I think I can say that with a great deal of certainty. Yeah, glad the vote wasn't today.
I mean, last year the Democratic caucus was opposed to even having the legislature have this power of approval or rejection, and said, give the governor the latitude. You trust him to make these decisions, to do the negotiation with the federal government. What's changed since then? Well,
the big change is it's not a traditional Medicaid expansion. Instead of covering 300, 400,000 people, it's gonna cover 200. But that being said, that doesn't mean we're against it just because of that, but we need to know exactly what, as I mentioned, how the copay is going to affect, what's the ramification, how many of these employers are actually going to be able to offer these plans. That's the type of thing that has changed. And we know, hey, we know we don't have the votes alone, so we're ready to compromise. Here, I've been pushing this thing for 2 years, and I'm trying to get some of my colleagues to go along with it. And if it turns out that thing's going to end up costing a heck of a lot more, we need to know that. I want everybody to know.
But isn't that the element that the hospitals have promised to sort of bridge the gap if the costs are higher than expected?
Well, yeah, but are they going to bridge that gap by closing down more hospitals just so they can make the payments? I don't think so. I'm not giving them any sinister motives, but because the problem, and a lot of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle are worried about their hospital, especially smaller rural hospitals, both public and private, whether they can stay open. Now, we all know that a hospital like it was when I was born in 1950 isn't working the same way as the hospital that just closed, the same hospital last month, but there needs to be some type of hospital, I believe, in every county. So people don't have to, all that, but the point of the matter is, they could say, yes, we're going to use our best efforts. We know, legislature, that you don't want these hospitals to close. We're going to use our best efforts to use this money that we've paid into Tennessee and comes back 2-to-1 to us in the form of the hospital assessment to try to keep local hospitals open, try to keep the mega site alive, try to keep local communities thriving, try to keep Tennessee on the move, because healthcare is a huge thing, and we've got such a good system, such a good infrastructure of healthcare. It should only get better with this.